Imagine this. You're walking home at night in St. Petersburg. The air smells of wet pavement and old bricks. You pass a dumpster, just another shadow in the dark. But then, you see it. A plastic bag, split open. Something pale inside. A human finger. Then another. And suddenly, you realize, a monster lives here. Not in some alley. Not in a prison cell. But behind the ordinary door of apartment 27, where an old woman is pouring tea, humming to herself, and waiting for her next victim. This is the story of Tamara Samsonova. A woman who defied every stereotype. A grandmother. A translator. A killer who dismembered her victims with the cold precision of a butcher. 4 years, she hid in plain sight, until one mistake, one slip, exposed Russia's most unthinkable serial killer. The official record says 11 murders. The truth? We may never know. Because Tamara didn't just kill, she erased her victims. Chopped them into pieces. Stuffed them into shopping bags like garbage. And all while her neighbors swore she was just a lonely old woman who loved cats and Tolstoy. But the most chilling part? Tamara didn't run. Didn't hide. When police came, she smiled. Offered them tea. And in that moment, they understood. The real horror wasn't the bodies. It was realizing evil could wear a face so ordinary. Every monster has an origin. A moment, a fracture, where something inside them breaks. For Tamara Samsonova, that break began in the ruins of a city that had already seen too much death. Born in 1938, Tamara grew up in the shadow of war. The siege of Leningrad, 900 days of starvation, cannibalism, and unspeakable survival. By age 5, she'd already learned that flesh could be carved, that bones could be hidden, that the world was a place where people vanished, and no one asked why. Neighbors later recalled a quiet, clever girl who spoke 4 languages but never smiled. A girl who trapped stray cats just to see what would happen. Was she born broken? Or was it the war? The beatings from her alcoholic father? The whispers say her first husband disappeared in 1962. No body. No investigation. Just gone. By her 60s, Tamara was alone. No children. No friends. Just a decaying apartment and a rage that festered in the silence. And then, the killings began. Not with a scream, but with a whisper. A polite offer of tea. An elderly neighbor who moved away, until her severed finger turned up in a trash bin. Some say trauma made her. Some say evil did. But in the end, only one thing matters. She chose to kill. Again. And again. And again. Tea time in St. Petersburg is a ritual. A moment of warmth in a cold world. But in Tamara Samsonova's apartment, it was something far darker. An invitation. A test. The last thing some of her guests would ever taste. Her victims were women like her, elderly, alone, forgotten by the world. They came for companionship. For help with groceries. For a listening ear. Watching as the life drained from her eyes. But unlike crimes of passion, where panic follows, Aftab was chillingly methodical. He dragged her body to the bathroom, where he let it lie for hours, contemplating his next move. By dawn, he'd made up his mind. He needed to erase Shraddha completely. A quick Google search led him to a local hardware store, where he bought a heavy-duty saw, the kind butchers use. Whatever was closest. No struggle. No mercy. And then, the dismemberment. She worked slowly, methodically, as if butchering a chicken for Sunday soup. Valentina was her last. A widow with a bad hip and a love for stray cats. When her daughter reported her missing, police assumed she'd wandered off, confused. Until a stray dog dug up her hand in a nearby park. This was her diary. Not of remorse, but of chores. Cleaned the floor. Fed the cats. got rid of the old woman upstairs. As casual as a grocery list. It started with a foot, then an arm, then a head, eyes still open, staring up from the garbage like an accusation. The police followed the trail, straight to Tamara's door. When they questioned her, she offered them tea. What they found inside wasn't a home. It was a slaughterhouse. Blood in the floorboards, hair in the drain, and in the closet, a stack of neatly folded clothes that didn't belong to her. Souvenirs from the lives she'd erased. 11 confirmed victims. Countless more suspected. But the real question isn't how many she killed. It's how many she made disappear without a trace. This notebook was Tamara Samsonova's most damning confession. Not just a record of her crimes, but a ledger of death, written in the same hand that poured tea for her victims. And when police finally opened it, they realized they were dealing with something far worse than a killer. They were facing a woman who saw murder as housework. Even as they cuffed her, even as they read her rights, the officers struggled to reconcile the frail pensioner in front of them with a monster who'd left body parts in dumpsters across St. Petersburg. But Tamara didn't resist. Didn't cry. She simply smiled. In interrogation, she was chillingly cooperative. Yes, I killed Valentina. Yes, I used a hacksaw. No, I don't remember how many. As if discussing what she'd bought at the market. Page after page, Tamara documented her crimes with the precision of a housekeeper's checklist. But between the lines, something else lurked, glimpses of a fractured mind. Mentions of the voices. Rants about neighbors stealing her air. And one recurring phrase, they deserved it. Was this the real Tamara? A broken child trapped in an old woman's body? Or a calculating predator playing for sympathy? The psychiatrists couldn't agree. The trial was a circus. Tamara dozed through testimony, corrected prosecutors on forensic details. Once, she even chuckled when a witness described finding a victim's head. "That's not where I left it," she muttered. They declared her legally competent. No insanity defense. Just cold, hard guilt. But as the sentence was read, life in a psychiatric prison, Tamara did something unexpected. She winked. She died as she lived, in shadows. Officially, natural causes. But rumors swirled. Had she been silenced? Had she taken secrets to the grave? Or, most terrifying of all, had someone finally given her the tea she'd served so many others? 11 confirmed victims. Dozens of unanswered questions. And somewhere in St. Petersburg's frozen earth, bones still waiting to be found. Tamara Samsonova died with her secrets. But you? You're still here, staring into the darkness, wondering how many more names were in that notebook. If you dare to keep digging, smash that like button, because the algorithm hates the truth as much as Tamara did. Subscribe for more real-life nightmares. And tell me in the comments, was she born a monster, or did the world make her one?